Welcome everybody. Welcome to this session, which is about teaching entrepreneurial mindset and why is that important. So my name is Petra Turkama. I'm originally from Finland. I've been here in the UAE for 10 years now, working in different universities like Hamza bin Mohammed Smart University, HCT, Masdar Institute, and now Abu Dhabi University. I am a professor in business and I'm also running an innovation center. And it has been a great journey for me here in the UAE, and mostly since in Europe the budget deficits are quite significant and money is tight. And we do still have the European Commission that is pretty good in funding research for innovation. But actually teaching innovation is always gets script. So something that I experienced here in the UAE, that there is quite a great support. All these legislations support us in teaching entrepreneurship. I was just mentioning for those who are not local that there is the law passed about 3 years ago on this, including entrepreneurship education in all the undergraduate degrees. And this is the Stanford course that we are now localizing to the local context. And we've been teaching it maybe for 35 cohorts already in our university. I taught the course about 6 times, and our students are completely smitten by the design thinking and alternative and experimental approaches that we apply. The recent change was now then this including entrepreneurship education already in high school curriculum. This is quite a recent change, and I'm not quite sure, honestly, what is the level of implementation right now. But what it really highlights is that it is important to study entrepreneurship. The younger you start, the better, and really sowing those seeds of different kind of thinking, kind of critical thinking, questioning the status quo, and having this fikra mindset already from the very young age. So my talk today would be about setting the scene first, a couple of things. Why entrepreneurial education? Well, globally, we're talking about global phenomenon, but also here in the UA context. Then I was thinking that if we have more people, we would focus on discussing this from 4 different angles. So first angle would be the skills and competencies. So do we as a teachers have enough skills and competencies for teaching this to the younger people? I was here yesterday for the innovation lab and I gave an example from my own experience. We introduced a new course in happiness in my university. And they kind of thought innovation and happiness is the same. They asked me to teach it. I said, no, there's no way I'm qualified to teach happiness. I'm trying to be happy, but it's not that I have the qualification. You have to take it seriously. So we really need to make sure they have certificates or we have some kind of diploma in teaching innovation, entrepreneurship, so that we don't just take the first faculty and put them there. It's a great responsibility to talk to these young minds. Second one, school culture. So what can we do at the school? Again, reflecting on the good discussions we had here yesterday, we talk a lot about the comfort zone and people feeling comfortable coming up with their ideas. And this is something that the school management can do, and the kind of relationship that the students have among themselves or between the teachers and the students and even parents. This is something that we try to do in Scandinavia. The schools are small and the teachers are very much involved with the parents and the home. So it's kind of your second home to come to school. So safety, feeling safe, that was something we talked about yesterday. Third one is technology. So we shouldn't be too technology driven, but technology does give us new opportunities to engage, learn, and meet the students where they are. I have 2 teenage boys and they are on Snapchat, WhatsApp, Instagram, whatever, all the time. So could we maybe do some of this ideation there and go to those platforms where those teenagers and the young innovators like to be? So meet them halfway. And the third one is then UAE as a context. So are there some structural or cultural issues that are creating us new opportunities for teaching entrepreneurship or conducting entrepreneurial endeavors? Or is there some hindrances that we can try to address and make it a bit of a better place? So a little bit about this, setting the scene before I leave the stage for our entrepreneur who will tell about their journey. So why do we need to have? What are the key drivers? Some of the statistics here are from the Khalifa Fund study that they conducted about 3 years ago on youth entrepreneurship. And here the youth is defined as 17 to 27-year-old person. So first of all, national innovation strategy. There is a huge pillar on innovation. It's rigorously implemented and measured by the Global Innovation Index. And we talk about these knowledge inputs and knowledge outputs. And right now, we're doing much better in the knowledge inputs. So the UAE has been making these investments into education, into entrepreneur, into ease of doing business, all this. But the outputs are not quite there. So now it's time to harvest, because these international rankings and all can go up quite significantly if you just know how to really make the best out of these investments in the short term. SMEs are generating about 60% of new jobs in developed countries globally. So most of the new jobs are not coming from those big old dinosaurs anymore. They come from the SME sectors and innovative sectors. Youth population in the UAE is huge. We don't say that only young people can be entrepreneur. Entrepreneur can be anybody. But the most likely audience for us, and who we are actually talking about targeting here, are the youth. Youth unemployment is rising. We have a lot of graduates also in our university who are struggling to find jobs. So why wouldn't we just graduate employees, but when we can graduate employers? And even if they don't start their own businesses, the creative, innovative mindset means about taking accountability, being this intrapreneur even in a big organization, and feeling ownership and responsibility. I think these are the qualities we want to teach. Only 2% of the young Emiratis today are entrepreneurs, and it was quite struggling to look into the Middle East statistics, where in Lebanon it's 30%. Of course, these are not like science-based entrepreneurs. These are like coffee shop, karak shops, something, street shops. But still, maybe it is that they don't have other opportunity, and that is what is pushing them to be entrepreneurs. But how then, when we still are doing so well here as a nation, how can we still push the young to kind of take that last step and become entrepreneurs? And then, of course, the changing needs at the job market. So even we didn't talk about, starting a business, we talk about the 21st century skills, creativity, problem solving, all this that you need for starting an entrepreneur. Well, now then, I would like to have a reflection from Ahmed, who has been a teacher, turned into an entrepreneur. And here, maybe from you then, just two questions. First of all, like, what made you really take the step, take the leap of faith and become an entrepreneur? And secondly then, is there some obstacles or some learnings that you could pass on to others so that they wouldn't, meet with the same challenges?
Thank you, Dr. Petra. So a bit of introduction about my background and why I got into entrepreneurship. While I do have my career in the public sector, both as a senior associate in the Crown Prince Court working in the Education Affairs Office and as a member of the Consultative Commission of the GCC Supreme Council, I am a serial entrepreneur who have managed to found 3 startups in the UAE and invested in startups here and in the Silicon Valley. And to your question first, what made me get into it? So I remember at Wharton I did my MBA there, and I took a class on entrepreneurship. And the one thing that I got out of that class is that entrepreneurship is not taught, it's experienced. And what that means is for you to go through that very, how shall I say, rough experience of spending countless nights working so hard on something, and you have no idea what the potential of that idea could be, you need to have a strong motivation that gets you started on that track. With the 3 startups I founded, one of them was in e-commerce, and I did not fully believe in the idea. I worked with the team, I helped establish the thing, but then when it became the time to take it to operation, I was not passionate enough. And at the same time, I was founding 2 others, one in education and one in agri-tech. And I had to make up a call because my time is 24 hours a day and I need to spend it wisely. And I chose to drop one and focus on 2 because they were the ones where I was mostly passionate about: education and agriculture. Because I saw the end result of it. I want to help my peers in the UAE and overseas to kind of reach and learn the things I learned through my life, probably through an easier route, and at the same time work on food security in the region. In terms of challenges that face you, um, I think we've been lucky to be surrounded with the right mentors throughout the process, and that's something that the entrepreneur needs most. Because most of the problems when it comes to funding, you can always find ways around finding funding. When it comes to support, if you are on the right direction and if you work with the right regulators on the right sectors, you will be able to find that support, especially in the UAE, because we have a lot of centers that focus on helping entrepreneurs. But you need the right mentorship, because what a lot of entrepreneurs lack is someone who has been through it, who can give them honest advice and not just clap for them, hey, there's a great idea, go ahead. And deep inside, they know this will fail. Having that right sound of advice in your life can make you way more successful. I remember with Tamuh, for example, the education startup, I was in the national service and we were working with Badr al-Ulama on the Global Manufacturing and Industrialization Summit. And we delivered the youth summit out of the whole summit. For 2 weeks, I could not sleep because 8 hours to 10 hours a day, I was in the service and there was no way I could leave and go help make the summit happen. But I committed to it. And it just made me able to go through that time. And I had a mentor like him who was able to tell me, Ahmed, this is the maximum budget you will have. You have to make it happen or you don't deliver the project. Him believing in me, but also giving me that hard deadline made me realize I have to rethink things. So I think always having that perspective in your life, someone who can coach you, but do it in a very honest way. And at the same time, if we're thinking about, okay, how do we teach entrepreneurship to youth in the UAE? I think we need to create environments for them to fail. And right now, the fail culture, I think it was very big element of our historical making in the Arab world, because we lived in a place with very limited resources. You had to venture out to sustain a living. But right now, I think that culture is declining a bit, and we need to work on it. We need to create opportunities for the youth to slowly fail and realize that it's safe to fail. It's okay to fail. You don't always win in life. my startup, Tamuh, we ended up closing it because in the niche area we were in, we thought this is not scalable. But we learned a lot. And now when I work on Madar, I always put that hat on, scalability. I shouldn't work on something for today, for tomorrow, but for 10 years down the line, where will I be? So I think more failure is good.
Okay, very good. So very clear messages. It was about taking the leap of faith, having the failure. Now, unfortunately, we heard that we have to close the session. There is a award ceremony where everybody has to be. So, with that, I would still like to take the opportunity of having our esteemed guests here. If we could get some couple of thoughts also from your side before we actually then close. So let's take a round. Very quick comment from everybody. 1 minute.
That was great. The feedback that you had was amazing, and I can really relate. So I actually am not a teacher, and I don't work in the teaching domain, but I started the first dance studio in Saudi Arabia. And how it happened was I didn't think I could be an entrepreneur, and I didn't think I'd get to that stage in my life, but it was through experience. And it was through that drive of really being able to deliver the vision I had. And I used to teach fitness and dance fitness on the side, but I wanted to scale it. I wanted to do something bigger with it. And it was really that motivation that got me started. And if I go back in time and think, how am I going to start a business? I don't think I would have ever taken that steps. But just really doing what I can do today and using what I have is what helped me build up my business. And now we're a team of 14 instructors. They're all Saudis. I would have never thought in a million years I'd have Saudi dancers, and we would have a dancing studio. But times have changed, and we're lucky doing what we do now. But I think that as an entrepreneur, my advice is also time. Time is essential. You can have an amazing business idea, an amazing concept, but you have to be timely. If you're not timely, sometimes competition will take you over. Or not just competition, but it's no longer important what you're delivering. And whatever it is you're delivering, does it answer questions? Does it help in any way? It really has to solve a problem. And I think this is how you can scale it. And you're right, if you want to sustain a business, you have to think about what you can do with it 10 years down the line and 20 years down the line. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Very good. So kind of growth mindset. Think about scalability, growth. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Honestly, I'm interested here about from the educational side, and how can we apply skill that has been implemented in other countries or other projects that's happening here in UAE. We'd like to encourage a student in the school early on to start thinking like this, and the idea to fail and succeed is very important, and we are doing that in the school now. But we like to think maybe more loudly after this session, is how can we contact you further down the road and think to create projects, simple project school that they can test, validate, and pitch in and fail or pass. And we do that annually. From the business side, honestly, I see a lot of local now. They are really investing in businesses and doing a startup. And unfortunately, is the skill set that they need to succeed is little bit not there. So we need to invest in more education, more program. The lecture that you mentioned that is now in the university implemented, I think will have an impact. But localizing it is important, and also having more financial skill. A lot of people, they unfortunately here in UAE, they lack the fundamental financial skill about building a business plan and taking it forward and doing some banking. They get fooled and they get the wrong loan, from the banks, which is a big issue also. So thank you very much. It's a beautiful conference.
I'm so glad to hear that you're helping the university here introduce a required course on entrepreneurship, because I am convinced that entrepreneurship education is about a lot more than business. It's about teaching people a broad range of skills that are essential for the 21st century. Some years ago, I did an evaluation of the impact of an entrepreneurship education program in 6 countries in the Middle East. And we looked at things like attitudes towards gender equity, attitudes towards negotiation, collaborative problem solving, self-efficacy, confidence in the future, confidence in other people. All those things change when students go through a course in entrepreneurship, which is not what I would have expected. I do teach a course in entrepreneurship at Harvard, education entrepreneurship, and not all of my graduates go and create a company. About a third of them do. But they all tell me years later that having learned to develop a business plan and to think innovatively was very helpful, even if they join government, even if they do something else. In the curriculum that we designed, the World Course, which is a K through 12 curriculum aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, there is a whole year, I believe it's the 8th grade, where we teach kids first entrepreneurship, and then the next year social entrepreneurship. And we have the kids learn to do a business plan and then take a social issue and build a business plan. And I don't expect that, and that curriculum is being taught in thousands of schools around the world. So I think entrepreneurship is a wonderful avenue to help people develop 21st century skills.
Okay, and a couple of closing remarks then.
Hi, so thank you for this. So I actually went in the opposite direction of Ahmed. I went from being an entrepreneur to being a teacher. And I teach entrepreneurship in a program that I founded called the Junior MBA, which is taught at the Arcadia Preparatory School, the Arcadia School in Dubai. So I went the other way. I did a master's in education entrepreneurship at the University of Pennsylvania. Did my undergrad at Wharton, ran at least 20 different businesses, experienced corporate life for over 30 years as a CEO, billions of dollars in revenues, and now I'm a teacher. So we teach right the way from grade 2 all the way through to grade 11. And we have a program called the Junior MBA, and then that leads on to the Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership. So I enjoy teaching. If anything, I'd encourage more entrepreneurs to be teachers than the other way around. So with all due respect to Emmett, and I think it unlike what Emmett said, and I'd love to get into a discussion, I think it can be taught. I think it's a mindset where there are entrepreneurial skills which you can teach at a very young age. One of them is resiliency that you referred to. The other is creative problem solving, opportunity seeking, resourcefulness. These are all skills that create an entrepreneurial mindset, and not necessarily a mindset that goes on to make our youth entrepreneurs, but goes on to give them skills that they can use in any career. So those entrepreneurial skills are really, really critical. So again, if you're ever in Dubai, I would love to invite you to come to my class and see my kids. Arcadia, it's a new school in Dubai. It's 2016. We have about 550 children, and yeah, I'm the CEO of the school, and also one of the favorite teachers. So entrepreneurship is the favorite subject at school. So the children just love it. We have some great speakers coming in. So we have actually this next week we have Virgin Radio coming in, and they've started. Chris Fade has started a new venture called Fade Fit Kids. So he's coming to talk about his venture. We've had CEOs. We've had the CEO of Zatar Wizait. We've had the CEOs of companies that children can relate to and become aspirational. So everyone's welcome. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.